Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. Today I'm going to talk about Cenk Uygur, a man who is a turncoat and who I believe is a hypocrite and needs to be criticised for such. So there's a couple of issues here. I guess the most important one for me is that if you are a progressive and you believe in your principles, you don't side with the right wing, particularly the extreme right wing, because you're not going to change anybody's vote. You're not going to change their opinion. You're not going to be able to persuade them to think like you do. Yet Cenk Uygur has now slipped into the category of Joe Scarborough and his partner, Malinsky, whatever her name is, Mika, and to the shame of them all, because this is hypocrisy. At one level, you've got Joe Scarborough, who has decided that he needs to have conversations with Trump because Trump could very well impact the way that they broadcast or could impact their licenses or whatever. So let's go and suck up to him, which they have done. And here we have Cenk Uygur now sucking up to the right wing, trying to convince them that he's not as progressive and as left as they would think. Now, I'm about to show you just an opening clip of him at Turning Point speaking to Charlie Kirk. Now, the thing to remember here is that Kirk himself is a right-wing enthusiast who is racist, anti-Semitic, who is a misogynist, who is just a terrible human being. And yet here we have Cenk having a conversation with him at a right-wing convention in an effort to be able to convince the right wing that Cenk isn't as bad as what he has been purporting for many, many years, in fact, and that in reality they should consider having conversations with him so hopefully he could win them over. Now, one of the reasons for this, I think, is that TYT are losing their grasp on the left, and that they are looking for other people to subscribe to their network. Now, I used to subscribe to TYT. I do subscribe to the YouTube feeds, but I don't subscribe to the YouTube network, the TYT network anymore, because I think that they've moved further and further to the right. And also, I don't agree with necessarily with some of their ultra-left progressive behaviours either, and the condemnation that they have of certain politicians. I think politicians should be criticised, rightfully so, and I could have this whole conversation with you about the need to be able to hold politicians to account. And I am agreeing with Cenk and others on the progressive side who believe that corporate, that the amount of money poured into politics, particularly in the United States, is inappropriate and harmful and breeds corruption, in fact. So understand all of that, don't disagree with that. But what I do disagree with is the fact that you're sitting down with a right-wing extremist talking about issues which you hope will satisfy their base. Now, when he does this, what he does is he sits down with these people and he looks for the issues that he knows that they will support, particularly money in politics, and that's where most of this discussion focuses. But what he doesn't do is talk about the real controversial issues which need to be discussed, primarily Trump and Trump's obsession with power, Trump's obsession with billionaires and putting people in place who are wealthy. In fact, the cleaning out of the swamp is something that Trump is far from interested in. What he's interested in doing is filling the swamp with his own mates and his billionaire friends and people that appear on Fox News. So those issues, though, those primary issues about the way Trump will govern are not discussed, because these are issues which Cenk knows will be confronting for the audience that is facing. So he hasn't got the guts to be able to put forward the arguments that he often does on his own network. He's not prepared to put those arguments forward at a meeting like this. So I'll just play a little bit to give you a taste of what happens in this meeting with Charlie Kirk, and you can decide whether or not you think he's a turncoat and a hypocrite. So this is the discussion that he's having with Charlie, and just wait and see what you think.
Cenk, the spirit of inviting you is that there's some confusion of these divides of right versus left, populist versus corporatist. I guess a good opening would be, as a man in the progressive movement, as one of the leaders of the progressive movement, what do you make of this last year, the state of the Democrat Party, and kind of American politics from the more progressive left perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm proud to represent the left flank of the populist movement, and I think
there are many people now who would object to that statement, that Cenk, and I'm one of them, who would say that Cenk no longer represents the progressive part of politics. He has now acquiesced. He has now given in, I believe, to the right.
we need both flanks, so I'm happy to have this conversation. In terms of what has gone wrong in the Democratic Party, it's the same thing that went wrong in the Republican Party, but I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done. So
this is the sort of language that is about him sucking up to this particular audience. A revolution well done. It may be a form of revolution, but the product of this revolution actually means chaos. And there's no way in the world Cenk is going to talk to them about the chaos that's going to be caused by a Trump administration.
And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment. So I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
All right. Yes, I love that. So look, for my left-wing friends that are watching out there, they just booed Mitch McConnell. That's
big deal. So what? So they have people that they favour within the right as well, and people that they don't. And Mitch McConnell is on the way out because people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others of her ilk seem to be more popular. The extreme right are now more popular.
It's a great thing, okay? And let's do one more. What do you guys think about Dick Cheney? My left-wing friends out there, we have been waiting for the right-wing populists to boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney our whole lives. Take the win. Take the win. Now, what we need to do in the Democratic Party is we need to do likewise. We need to have a revolt against the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, and the Nancy Pelosi's.
Now, it's quite obvious to me, anyway, that what Cenk is doing at this point are looking for cheers and shouts of approval for those people that he holds responsible for the decline of the Democratic Party. Now, there's plenty of things that one could argue are wrong with the Democrats, particularly their focus on mainstream media to get the message across as opposed to well-known podcasters like Rogan and others. So there are things that certainly need to change. But the thing that Cenk focuses on most now is this notion around populism. So we don't need politicians anymore. We just need popular people like Donald Trump. So we need somebody who has a platform such as The Apprentice, and those sort of people are the people better equipped, according to Cenk, even though I think Cenk's thinking a lot about himself as being the populist individual that could stand for election. He has an issue around that because he wasn't born in the US. But nevertheless, he's the one now saying that we need to look for away from politicians. So people like AOC and Bernie Sanders and similar people to that are people that are no longer really fit the mould in relation to those people that are well equipped to be able to lead a government. Now, my issue around that is that it's, to be able to govern, you need to be a politician. You may not Trump, but he is now a politician. There are certain people within the right wing you may not like, but they are politicians. There are certain people that you may like on either side of politics, but they are politicians. So is he suggesting that we get rid of politicians generally? And if that's the case, what sort of autocratic government is he expecting to be able to develop? Because that is what happened. And there is nothing in this talk he has with Kirk that indicates that he is prepared to at least understand that we need some form of government. That government, it may not be perfect, it may be corrupt, and certainly get rid of the corruption where possible. And here in Australia, we don't have to worry too much about corporation corruption, even though it does happen in terms of Gina Reinhardt and other powerful people who do tend to want to influence elections because it's in their interest to do so. But we are not as corrupt in terms of the amount of money we pour into politics as they are in the US. So what we need to do is understand that we still need to be progressive. We don't have to look for a populist such as Trump. We don't have to look for someone that sits outside the square, that is a non-politician. Like, could we have Elon Musk, for example? No, sirree, we couldn't, because he's too right-wing. He has no connection with the people. The reason why we elect politicians is because they rep their constituents, are us. They're people in the community that vote for them because they either like them or they like their policies. Now, there's lots of people who are in politics who are genuine about representing their population, that they are not corrupt, that they do the best that they can with sometimes limited resources, but they do the best that they can. And people, we should be encouraging, in fact, people to become involved in politics who are enthusiastic about attempting to do the right thing for their people. They have a certain ideology, maybe, but they need to work for the people who voted them in the first place. In Australia, because we don't have a voluntary system, we have compulsory voting, that there is a large percentage of people that turn out for our vote. So we get a truer impression, I guess, as to who supports whom in this country than they do in the United States. But nevertheless, the people we need to have representing us need to be people who have the right ethics, the right principles. So it doesn't matter which side of politics that is, but who are trying to do the best they can for the people that they're representing. Not a populist. A populist is someone who has simply built a reputation based on how many films they've been in, what sort of TV shows they've done, whether they're a singer or an actor or a performer or whatever, or whether they've got millions and millions of dollars. This is whom a populist is. Now, we can change the system, and the system certainly should be changed. No one's disputing that. But it doesn't necessarily mean, as Cenk and others seem to think, that a populist sort of person is the way to do it. It's worked in the United States, doesn't mean it's going to work everywhere. And my guess is that Trump will be the last of the populist leaders, simply because people will understand that he doesn't offer anything that is specifically going to change their lives. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please subscribe to my channel. My goal for next year is to get 10,000 subscribers. So hopefully I'll be able to do that, and I'll be only able to do that with your help. So let me know what you think. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.